Hello, everyone, and welcome along to the latest Monday Bulletin from the TII Podcast Network. My name is Craig Dennett, and I'm your host this evening as we start to look ahead to what is going to be a big week for Rangers. We've had a few postponed podcasts after the sad news about Her Majesty the Queen last week, and we're now, as football returns, starting to look ahead to what, as I said, will be a big week for Rangers, and it starts on Wednesday night at home to Napoli. I'm joined tonight by Ben. How you doing, Ben?
Yes, good. Ready for more football to come back.
Absolutely, and we're joined by our resident Paralympian as well, Shug. How you doing, Shug?
I'm good, mate. Stuck in a hotel, but looking forward to the Champions League.
Absolutely. I think before we get into Champions League, there was a bit of news today around some movement within our recruitment team, so we'll touch on that first, and then we'll head straight into the Napoli game. I think after 2 4-0 defeats in a row, I was ready for a break from Rangers. Hopefully Rangers have used that break to its maximum, and I guess we'll find out on Wednesday night. But before we move on to talk about Napoli, Ben, it was announced today Rangers lead domestic scout Robert Clarkson's left the club to head up the FA's Talent ID team from under 18 through to senior level. That move comes after Andy Skolden, who was the head of scouting for Rangers until the summer, left for Spurs. And Jordan Campbell from The Athletic reported that it's actually part of a restructure that's going on within the scouting department. We brought in John Park, who was previously at Celtic within their scouting department, but he wasn't brought in as a direct replacement for Skolden. But the reason why I wanted to discuss it, and it's one that we've discussed as a group, I guess, throughout today, is really, it brings up the topic of Rangers' recruitment strategy and how successful or unsuccessful it's been. And it was actually quite interesting, the disparity in the views that were shared amongst just those TII podcasters ourselves. Ben, just looking at the past couple of years, I'd say last 3 or 4 years, since we've been sort of competitive again, I guess, within the Scottish Premiership, how do you view our recruitment strategy? Do you think it's been a success, or would you say it's not been successful?
I think it's been mixed, to be fair. I mean, that's how it's going to be, isn't it? You're going to get some right, some not so good. I think it could be improved, and I think maybe a fresh up is a good thing. Just when you look even at this past window by itself, we all talked already that more could have been done, and maybe bringing in players that, we've brought in the likes of Matondo, who may well kick on, but we haven't really brought in players that are going to do the job there right now. You look as well, it's very hard to assess the signings, given that like Ben Davies has barely kicked the ball. Matondo hasn't exactly set the world on fire, but hasn't played a lot either. You've got Suter, hasn't played a lot either. So maybe some fresh eyes and fresh input would be a good thing.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see how this restructure kind of affects the team. Obviously, we don't really see the ins and outs of what those guys do on a daily basis, and I'm sure the team is much more wide-ranging than just the 2 guys that have left. But it will be really interesting moving forward to see how that shapes up. Shug, sort of same question to you. Last 3 or 4 years, recruitment strategy, do you feel it's been a success, or do you think it's one there's loads of room for improvement?
I think there's definitely room for improvement. I think it's stalled as such. I think we've got to a level and we've not taken that next step. We seem to be in the same sort of markets. Belgium seems to be a big one to go to. Even Robbie Matondo, although he's from Schalke, he was in Belgium last year. So it'll be good to get a fresh set of eyes in. I mean, we're having successes like Barsi and Aribo, obviously. They've just left in the summer for big money. But like I say, I think that when you think back over the last 1-2 years, most of the players are either haven't made it and they're not involved. I mean, the majority of the side still comes from Steven Gerrard's last signings before he started moaning about not being backed. So I guess the last couple of years, like I say, I think it's stalled, and it may be good to get some fresh eyes in and a different opinion.
Yeah, Ben, one of the points that was put forward when we were having a chat earlier today within the group was that actually over the last 2-3 years, we've won 55, we've won the Scottish Cup, we've reached a Europa League final, we've qualified for the Champions League, and yet as Rangers fans, we're not happy with where we are or what we're doing on that front. I guess that those were some of the reasons put forward as to why clearly recruitment's been a success on that front. Do you think our expectations are too high, or do you reckon it's just part and parcel of being at Rangers and expectations are going to be high, and actually for our recruitment to be a success, we needed to deliver at least one World League title within that time frame?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we have had success, but I would argue that some of that success has come with the likes of Tav, who was there for quite a considerable amount of time before that. Connor Goulson, who's been there for quite a while now. You know, and it's when I look at the recruitment, it's the likes of, we've been crying out to really have an alternative to Morelos for quite a while. We haven't really got that alternative. Obviously, we now have Cholak recently, but it's a different type of player. And then we need that box-to-box midfielder. We haven't managed to bring that in as well. As I said, the right wing is something that we've been trying to get in, and we haven't addressed that. And then it's also it's like Kent as well. You know, Kent hasn't really been on it for quite a bit, and there's no alternative. He knows he's going to play every week, so you know, good recruitment is bringing in players that are going to challenge the existing core. But I think one of the things is, yes, we have had success, but what it shows you, you know, I don't like to always look at the other side of the city, but at the end of the day, they were in an absolute mess. They brought in, it shows what the fresh blood has done. It's really transformed their team through good signings, and we sort of stalled. I think is the best way to say it. You know, with as Shug said, we've got to a certain level, but we haven't been able to kick on from that, and that's what you need to do. You need to strengthen from a position of success. You know, and we failed to do that after 55, and even also, I would say, after the Europa League final as well.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the word that both yourself and Shug have used is stalled, and I think that's probably the best way to describe it. I think this summer was one where all Rangers fans were hoping we would kick on to the next level and really shore up the weaknesses that we've all seen over the past year, 18 months at Ibrox. And I think they've all been pointed out to death on this podcast as well. So absolutely, I think that's I think that's one of the things that we need to look at. But Shug, just a point that's come in from Cammy26. He said that 3 or low fee signings have been the main successes since 2018. I think from the recruitment team's side, I guess that would be deemed a success, and that we're buying low and selling high, or getting maximum value for our money. But I guess the concern is that when we do spend money, it's not quite working, is it?
Yeah, it's not so far. I mean, I'm not going to judge all the signings that we made in the summer yet. I fell into the trap of judging Lundstrom early last year, so I'm not going to do it again. But we'll see what happens. But that is where the kick-on needs to be. We managed to get these frees in and low-cost signings, like I said before, Revo, Barsi, things like that. But I mean, they're rare. It's rare to get that amount of success from that market, and we can see with the players, you know, Jack Simpson's just went out. He was one of them at midfield and things like that. So we've got, I would hope that we signed Ben Davis for reportedly £4 million. So I'd like to think that we're shopping in that sort of market now, sort of multi-million pounds. I know we're not ever going to be in the 10 million plus figures for signings, but I'd like to think that we're looking at that and trying to then build them players up. I mean, Robbie Matondo, his prime, he was a couple of £1 million, I think. That's the kind of player that we hope that we get in now. Rather than getting a free, we can get a Robbie Matondo in, and hopefully he can come good and he can eventually. I think he's been unfortunate. He seems to have picked up a knock here or there, and then he was ill for a bit, so he's still plenty of time to judge on him. But I think that's a market we need to move into, and perhaps that's maybe why behind the scenes they're maybe looking at changing a few things, because we are in a different market now and looking elsewhere. We've maybe dried up in the places where we have been looking.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a few comments coming in on the live chat highlighting some of the weaknesses, I guess, that people are continuing to see. Ali Quinn says, who plays right back if Tav's out? Maybe Ryan Jack. And I guess that's a bit of a potential weakness, although Adam Devine is obviously in there. Rangers Avengers says our biggest mistake was signing no one the last window after the Champions League qualification, which I think could potentially still come back to bite the board before it's too late. I think if we find ourselves significantly or any further behind by the time the World Cup rolls around. So there's a few different comments coming in there, highlighting some of the areas of weaknesses that we can all see, I think, in the team. But hopefully the restructuring of the scouting department will bear fruit, and we'll start to see us continue to push on and kind of move on from that staleness that we're starting to see over the last few windows. Anyway, there's a big game coming up. It was supposed to be tomorrow night. It's been shifted another 24 hours, much to Shug's delight. Shug's not making the game anymore, for anyone that isn't aware, so he's not happy about it in the slightest. But it's been pushed back 24 hours. And the official reason given is due to the severe limitations on police resources and organisational issues related to the ongoing events surrounding the national mourning for Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. There were a few more changes announced alongside the date, in the way that there are no away fans going to be in the stadium on Wednesday night. It also means that there are no Rangers fans going to be in, is it the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona, I think they call it now, in Napoli. There's going to be no Rangers fans there either. Ben, coming to you first. Obviously, I think the movement of the fixture, there was nothing that could be done around that. I think it's good that the fixture's still being played, from my perspective. But in terms of the away fans, are you a bit disappointed we're not going to have that sort of atmosphere? Or are you not that fussed by it?
I mean, I think it is disappointing. Don't get me wrong, I won't be disappointed if it gives us an advantage and we end up winning the game. But I think the most disappointing thing is that we're not able to go there then, and I think that's slightly unfair. Given obviously it could be seen as unfair in the Napoli, but it's circumstances that are nothing to do with Rangers, and so I think to not allow us to go is unfair. But once you get into the Champions League, I think sometimes seeing these away fans coming and creating a bit of an atmosphere, it's a good thing all around. So yeah, it's probably is disappointing.
Yeah, Shug, I'm going to give you your opportunity to get everything off your chest in terms of the fixture movement, and then kind of the same question to you about the away fans. That's part of the appeal of the European games, I think, is the atmosphere that away fans bring. We saw it with I think loads of groups of fans in recent years. We've seen it with the likes of Young Boys and Barisic squaring up to them. We've seen the likes of Dortmund, Leipzig, countless others that have came and really made a real noise. Leverkusen, another one that have played a real part in that atmosphere. Is that something that you think will take away from the occasion, or do you think it will actually enhance it because it's a full house of Rangers fans?
Yeah, no, I think it definitely get taken away. I think one of the best moments in the last few years was, I'm sure it was Legia Warsaw, when they set the flares off in their end and the whole place was covered in smoke and the fans just erupted. The cry of no surrender was just absolutely brilliant, and it just lit the whole atmosphere. And I think it inspired the team on after that. I'm very disappointed by we've not got enough police to cover it. I think that's partly down to one of our other podcasters, Rhys Cochrane. I think police are maybe needing to bulk up to keep an eye on him because I've heard he's going to the game. So probably increase police coverage due to him alone. Try to get a picture with players, no doubt. But no, I think it definitely takes something away from the fixture. And I feel for, as well as our fans who've already arranged to go to Naples, the Napoli fans that have already had flights and hotels and everything to come here to see the game and are not being allowed, even if they were able to stay for 24 hours and still not being allowed. It doesn't seem fair, doesn't seem right. And yeah, the clubs will refund them ticket money, but I don't know who's refunding the flights and the hotel money and things like that. So I don't know. I think I feel for them the most. because I mean, we always talk about big European teams and going to these places and things like that. It'll be the same for Napoli fans. Many of them who watched us last season and seen the atmosphere at Ibrox and thought, I want to get in amongst that and I want to experience it myself, and they're not going to get that chance. Definitely take something away from the game, and well, like Ben says, I hope if we get a 1-0 win, I don't care. Don't care after that. But yeah, no, I think I love having an away support. It's always good for that atmosphere, I feel.
Yeah, Ben, we're about to get on to talk about Napoli, and I think a lot of Rangers fans will have watched their 4-1 demolition of Liverpool last week. But just a final one on the fan side of things. I think when we get to the away leg, going to a stadium with that vociferous an atmosphere, when we're already underdogs, is quite an ominous thought, isn't it?
Oh, it's going to be a tough ask. It definitely is. Yeah. The players really respond and hear the away fans, when we travel in our numbers and make a noise. So, it's already going to be a very tough game, and yeah, that's certainly going to add to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, on to talk about Napoli. As I mentioned, they beat Liverpool 4-1 in the first leg. They also missed a penalty. It was they looked absolutely. I don't know if either of you saw the game, but they looked absolutely electric going forward, particularly on the counter attack, and they looked absolutely devastating as well from a finishing perspective. And then I watched the game at the weekend actually, just out of interest, and they actually performed like you would see Rangers performing and against Ross County or Dundee United or someone like that. They had 33 shots at goal and won 1-0 with a last minute winner. So I think they can, when they're on it, and then when they're not, they're up against a bit of a stodgy defence. I think they can take a wee bit of breaking down and a wee bit of time to do that. Shug, coming to you first, how are you feeling heading into the game? Obviously, it's in the back of 2 4-0 defeats in a row. I wasn't the most disappointed person in the world when I heard that we weren't going to Pittodrie last Saturday, but also that might have been just a wee palate cleanser that we might have needed to just move on from the week before. How are you feeling heading into the game?
Yeah, it's I don't want to say a free hit. Yeah, it's no such thing, but I think after the convincing defeat of Liverpool last week, I think it shows the level they're at, and after our performance in Amsterdam, shows the level that we're at. It's going to take something special to get anything, never mind get a win. But it is the kind of game that our season can turn on it. Show up tomorrow night, and we could potentially start riding on the crest of a wave. And European night at Ibrox, no better time to do it. It's no better feeling for the players. So hopefully it'll be the kick that we need to move on. So I'm excited. I'm gutted I'm not going to be there. I hear the Champions League music, but hopefully by the time I get in from training, I'll come into a decent result. Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I hope the players turn up on Wednesday night and not tomorrow night. But
yeah,
all good.
You're just rubbing it in again. You've just taught me again. Oh, can't go.
Yeah, I hope the players turn up on Wednesday night. I read a rumour before coming on here. I'm not sure how true it is that actually the Champions League music won't be played before the game in any British ties this week as a mark of respect. I'm not sure how true that is or not. It would be a shame to miss out on the Champions League music before the game. Ben, how are you feeling heading into Wednesday night?
Yeah, I'm sort of hoping that. I mean, I know it's different circumstances, but I'm hoping the last time that football was put off because of COVID, players sort of seem to get. Obviously, it was long term and stuff, but the players seem to get together and really come back with a determination to kind of go. And it was after bad results and stuff. So I'm hoping that this mini break, was sort of rejuvenated. Whatever needs aired has been aired, and we go again, and not just. I mean. As Shug said, this is a free hit. So not just in terms of the Champions League, but in terms of domestic football, that we really get ourselves to go and we sort of kick on now and say, right, we're 5 points behind there in the league. We cannot let it get further. and we've fought and fought to get into the Champions League. So let's not go out with a whimper. If we go out, we'll go out. You know, we're fourth seed. We're expected to, but you know, let's fight. Let's show the Rangers of last season in Europe. And I think we'll see a better, you know, Ibrox night. I think we'll see a better performance. Certainly couldn't see a worse one. But yeah, I think we will come out and we'll certainly if we lose a game, I think we'll certainly be a harder opposition than we were last week.
Yeah, definitely. And Shug, just wanted to touch on a point that I saw being discussed quite a bit on social media amongst Rangers fans today. I think some fans have been charged, if they're not season ticket holders and they're not on the contained credit card scheme, I think some fans have been charged £71 to watch the game against Napoli on Wednesday. That's just a ridiculous amount of money to charge someone to watch football, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just going along with what the club seems to have been doing recently. It's a bit disappointing. Yeah, I mean, the original price and some fans being charged £180. I feel Scott Patterson was one of them. I think I've seen that somewhere on the pod. I think he maybe brought it up a couple of times. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of money, and when times are so hard and things like that, it's disappointing that they've put it up even more. So you think that would be £213 to go to 3 games. It's just crazy money. And they're not, I don't think the board are doing themselves any favour with the fans just now. Mr. King seems to be kicking about just now as well to put the boot in when he can. So I think it's causing a little bit of unrest off the field. I don't think the club needs it. I don't think Gio needs it just now. I think we need everyone fully focused and back in the team, but it's what the board's chosen to do, and it's disappointing, and it's disappointing on the fans. It's just crazy money for a ticket for a game of football. And, I mean, at least if you're paying that to go and see a music concert or something like that, at least you're guaranteed entertainment and something you want to see. Whereas if the team perform like last Wednesday, can't even get my days right, last Wednesday and the Saturday before, then it's going to be £71. It's with a terrible night's viewing. So hopefully them that have paid it get their money's worth and get to see a really good performance.
Yeah, absolutely. So fingers crossed we'll go at least to get a performance this time around, if not a result, but obviously fingers crossed for both in the same go. Ben, I'm not sure how much you've watched Napoli beforehand, or if you've seen much of their games at all. I think, having looked, done a bit of research, watched a couple of their games, and obviously used Patrick Casquet as the measuring stick for some of their key players. It seems to be that summer signing Kubica Kvaratskhelia, I might have just butchered that. He's a Georgian left winger who has scored 4 goals in 5 league games this season, and he seems to be capturing the imagination of the Napoli fans and fans of Serie A as well. He's supposedly, I think going by his numbers, you can say he's more than supposedly one of their biggest threats. I think he's pretty pacey as well. From watching the game against Liverpool, I thought Andre Frank Zambo Anguissa in centre mid was really solid, really powerful, running from central midfield, breaking the lines, scored a good goal as well. And then I think the big one for us, I mean, I'm sure they've plenty of money spent on a backup, but their main striker, Victor, I don't even know how to say it, Osimhen.
Yeah.
He's injured his hamstring against Liverpool, so it seems like he's out the game on Wednesday. But Ben, I think whatever team we face, they're going to be full of quality, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. No, I have to be honest, I haven't seen them other than the highlights against Liverpool. I think given that it was our Ajax game was before it, I thought I was never going to watch another football match. So no, I didn't watch them against Liverpool. But yeah, I mean, they're a quality team. There's no doubt about that. To even qualify for the Champions League in Serie A, you have to be a quality team. I had actually thought when the draw came out, you know, I'd seen that they had lost a few in the summer and thought, oh, they might be in transition, but then supposedly Ajax were too. So you know, it doesn't matter when you're dealing at the money they're dealing at and with the level of player, they're going to be a really good team, and you know, on paper a better team than us, but again, so we're Leipzig, so we're Dortmund, you know. So if we turn up and you know the crowd turns up, then which it will, then we're a match for anyone, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I do get the feeling though that as much as we did turn up against Dortmund and as much as we did turn up against Leipzig, this feels, definitely felt to me that Ajax was just a completely new level to this team, and actually the mentality side of it is one that worries me. There's one of the comments actually from Posit Bear said, players' mentality worries me. It's up and down and been like that for years. Manager needs to get a performance out of this team. Players need to play for the jersey, and I guess you can't disagree with that. I think it was the performance that disappointed us more than the result last week, and it was the amount of effort. And you saw, if you're watching from home, you would have seen Ali McCoist and his passionate rebuke of the performance both at half-time and at full-time, with regards to the fact that we didn't have the ball for most of the game but still ran 6 kilometres less than Ajax did. I think was the nail in the coffin of that performance. Shug, looking at ourselves and how we approach the game, do you expect it to be similar to how we approached games against Dortmund and Leipzig? What do you think we do differently to last week when we played against Ajax?
Yeah, well, it's funny when you were speaking about Victor Osimhen. For them, remember once upon a time Alfredo Morelos was supposed to be his replacement for Lille. Osimhen moved to Napoli for 70 million or something like that, and they tried to get Morelos that summer for 16. I'm kind of, that's part of me hoping that he's done enough in the gym. I like Čolak, but there's something about European nights in Alfie that I'd like to see. I don't know if it's a worry. It's once they do it right back, I think we'll see how we say it out. I think if Tav's not playing, if he goes to Leon King, he's obviously going solid at the back. If he goes to Adam Devine, we're obviously going to go and have a go. I think maybe that's where we went wrong at Ajax last week. I think we put out a team to have a go last week, but it didn't pan out, and they obviously had to make it more rigid for the second half. Better performance, but again, it's not because Ajax took off the foot off the gas. So I don't know, tomorrow night Napoli are full of dangers again. That's every team's going to be at this level. But you don't want to sit in counter attack when you're at Ibrox. So I don't know. I'm totally on the fence. I'm sounding the candy tonight. I'm so on the fence. It's going to hurt. But yeah, no. And probably, I think we'll say out. I think we'll say out more like we finished the game against Ajax. I think we'll be solid in things, and we'll wait and see how the game kicks off. Don't know how good Napoli are at travelling, but I mean, if they show up the way they tore Liverpool to shreds, I don't want to see that happening to us. So I imagine that Gio will have them set up to make sure we don't concede. But like the Gaffer Waller, the way he used to set his teams up, make sure we don't concede first and foremost. So I think that'll be the big message tomorrow night, Wednesday night.
Get there eventually. Ben, I think it's safe to say that I would expect, like Shug, that the second half lineup, or at least the second half team setup, will be more on the lines of what we go for on Wednesday night. I think to say we set up to have a go at Ajax in the first half was it's maybe pushing it a wee bit. I think we had three defensive midfielders and centre mid. They just got passed around, and they get the step up in quality. I think really showed. But Ben, would you expect that more defensive setup and try and hit on the counter attack? And Shug's brought up a good point there. I guess I'm just working on the assumption that Čolak was going to start. But is there a wee inkling or a wee opportunity for Morelos to come into the team there?
Well, on the Morelos, for me, he absolutely has to start. Čolak's been really good, but he's just a different type of striker. He'll put the ball in the net, but the way we're playing at the minute, we're not giving him a lot to put in the net. Whereas the defenders know they're in a game when they've got Morelos up there. You know, physicality, the strength. He's able to hold the ball up better for us, and just gives us that outlet which you need on European nights. So for me, he absolutely has to start. assuming he's fit enough. But even if he gets 60 minutes out of him, whatever, then Colak's not a bad player to bring on. Yes, I absolutely think that we will. After 2 4-0 defeats in a row, your manager is going to be more defensive, understandably, and the fact that we did have a better second half performance in Ajax, but of course they will have not been going at it 100%, but still it was better and it's something to build on. So yeah, I expect us to go with a five at the back. Whether that he starts and has Lundstrom in there like he did last season, or whether he just plays another defender from the start, I'm not sure. But yeah, he'll definitely, in my opinion, have at least the three centre backs in there.
Yeah, I think my concern is just how shaky we have looked defensively, and I'm hoping that they've spent at least 75% of the time this past week working on set piece defending. But I don't hold out any hope, really, to be honest. Shug, if I'm going to ask for score predictions first, then I'll come on to a final question, I guess. But Shug, just what's your feeling on the score on Wednesday night?
Yeah, I'm going to have a bit of positivity. I'm going to say 2-1 Rangers.
Bold, very bold. Ben, what about yourself?
Well, what's Shug's prediction for tomorrow night as well?
My prediction, Ben, for tomorrow night is that I'll be saw outside Ibrox wondering, where the hell is everybody?
I think you might be right. No, I'm going 2-2. I'm going 2-2 Wednesday night. I nearly did it there.
Yeah, I'm going to be Mr. Pessimistic, which I'm not really normally, to be fair, but I'm going for a 2-0 Napoli. I think is going to be the score. But one final question for you both, and Shug, I'll come to you first on it. If we get another big defeat on Wednesday night, is Gio's job on the line?
No, I don't think he'll be judged on European games. I think he showed in the European arena that he can match teams, but like I said, that's a step up for us. The players he's been given, the backing he's been given, I think he's not going to be judged by the board on European nights. I think it'd be more concerning. There'll be the reaction in the Dundee United game. If we don't react well, then he's in trouble. But I don't think the European night will be where he's judged.
Yeah, I think there was definitely a lot of chat after the Ajax game last week, Ben, around Gio's job and where if he's doing enough, and if he's I think I saw some suggestions that he'd washed the dressing room. There was a lot of I was going to say pie in the sky accusations, but accusations that were a bit out there that were being thrown around last week. I think just out of sheer frustration and anger amongst the Rangers fans. If we were to lose 4-0, 5-0 on Wednesday night, do you think Gio's job's on the line?
No, I don't. Again, I think it comes down to domestic more. However, the lack of running and stuff from the players last week doesn't look good for a manager. And if that was repeated, I still don't think tomorrow there, I've done it now. I still don't think Wednesday will be losing him his job. But if it was to continue into the league a bit further, the one thing that I think is slightly against him is the fact that he knew we'd qualify for the Champions League, and he was the one that said that he's happy with his squad, and then he said that we can't compete at this level. So if we can't compete at this level, then improve your squad.
Yeah, I was going to round up there, but Shug, I'm going to come back to you on that one actually, because Gio's comments after the Ajax game and that we would need to spend hundreds of millions of pounds to be able to compete at the Champions League level. It was very much in contrast to what we'd heard from the manager across the other side of the city the night before. What were your thoughts on that comment?
We need to spend hundreds of millions of pounds to reach the latter stages of the Champions League to be competitive at this end. I don't think we'll have to spend hundreds of millions of pounds. We've seen lots of teams. I mean, if it's going to say that, then to make the Europa League final, you need to spend £100 million or whatever, because we beat big teams in Dortmund and Leipzig and things like that are Champions League budgeted teams. So I don't believe that you have to spend hundreds of millions of pounds to be competitive at this stage. But we're not expected to win it. So I don't know where that came from. I would still imagine that there's teams we can compete with. We can, on our day, we can beat teams and things like that. And I think the majority of Rangers fans would have bitten your hand off to finish third in the group. So that's all we're asking. We're not asking to win the Champions League. So I think it's a silly statement, to be honest.
I mean, Zagreb spent 4 million this summer and just beat Chelsea. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think the word compete is where Gio's potentially got himself into a bit of trouble with that, with his comment there, because we're not asking to. We've got an incredibly difficult group. We all know we've got an incredibly difficult group full of talented teams. Probably some of the, if you could have picked some of the toughest seeds in each pot of the group, they probably end up with pretty close to our group, if not exactly our group. So I don't think anyone was really expecting us to pull up trees, but it is that just competing with your opposition on that 90 minutes, putting in the effort, putting in the tackles, pressing as much as you can, staying defensively solid and seeing where that takes you. And I think that's where Rangers need to be at. We're not asking for the world and to be beating these teams constantly. We're just asking for the effort and for the team to show the passion that we do as fans in these games, because we've all been desperate to get to this stage for 10 years plus, and we finally reached this stage and we don't want to go out with a whimper. But on that note, I think we've gone up to 37 minutes now, so I think we'll draw the podcast to a close there. I believe Kyle and the team will be back on Wednesday evening, I believe, after the game rather than pre-game. So they'll be the first ones to give you their thoughts. It'll be live on YouTube, I imagine, around 11 o'clock-ish. But for tonight, I think that's us. Ben, thank you very much for joining us.
Yep, thanks again.
And Shug, thanks again to you as well.
Yeah, I look forward to sitting outside Ibrox tomorrow night, wondering what's going on.
I just make sure you take a hat. It might be cold. But thanks very much to everyone for listening. And please remember to subscribe to the TII YouTube channel and toggle on those notifications as well, so you get a notification email every time we go live or a new podcast is uploaded to the channel. In terms of what's coming up the rest of the week, as I mentioned, Kyle will be back with a post-match reaction to the Napoli game. Adam will be back on Friday with the Friday bulletin as we look ahead to the Dundee United game at Ibrox on Saturday. And then Scott Patterson and the guys will be here on Sunday night at 8 p.m. with our weekly flagship podcast, looking back on both these games, as well as looking ahead to what next week holds, or I suppose it's international break, so looking ahead to where Rangers can improve or Rangers can benefit from those 2 weeks together. Thanks very much for listening, and until next time, goodbye.